Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio. We're your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. Great topic. A topic that we've touched on a couple of times, but with a different angle today with my guest. And my guest is going to really share with us some real new way of maybe dealing with this particular issue that society has, as a common thing and a common theme. And I think it's all over the world. It's happening, and sometimes people get caught into it, and sometimes it's difficult to get rid of this thing. And again, I'm being a little bit suspenseful, as always. Try to give you a little bit of a suspense here before the show, really gets into the gear here. But I have with me Roseanne Forte. She is a successful C-suite executive, ministry leader in the church. She's an international best-selling author of a Christian Indie Award-winning daily devotional called The Plans He Has for Me. Now, she's also created a whole program, a 12-day, 12-week daily devotional, Freedom from Alcohol. So that's the topic today, alcohol and, addiction and all the stuff. But her story is amazing because, I don't know if you know this, but to be in a C-suite is not a simple thing. And I can relate to that because I have been myself in a C-suite level, and it is dealing with the board, dealing with a different level of craziness, and it does get you stressed out. And sometimes people do tend to find ways to mitigate that stress. And alcohol is an easy way to do that, happy hour, and the rest is forget about it, right? So without any further ado, Roseanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Boy, you hit on about 7 topics I want to discuss in that intro.
we got a deep dive on every one of those.
The fact that it's kind of a big issue. I don't know if you know this, but the National Institutes of Health state that just in the US, some form of AUD, which is alcohol use disorder, exists in 11.3% of the population. Now, I'm wondering if that's really a true number because a lot of people don't discuss the fact that they are having an issue with alcohol, right? And you also mentioned that, hey, this can be difficult to stop. And it is. And that's what the commercials aren't telling us. It's an addictive drug, and nobody told me that. I just learned through, media and the world that you use it for romanticism, you use it to deal with stress, you use it in business situations, you use it to check out. There's just to have fun. There's no way to have fun if alcohol is involved, right? And so I bought into all those things. But eventually I was like, I'm not liking the effects of this on my health, on my mental health, on my weight. I need to stop. And then you go, why can't I stop? I keep making promises to myself. I'm not, and plus, like you said, when you're at the executive level, you're used to getting things done. You say you're going to do something and you get it done. And all of a sudden you are faced with this problem and you're not getting it done. It's just shocking. So, yeah.
So Roseanne, it's, it is a big topic. And, as a matter of fact, I've had few guests that each one of them had a different angle about the discussion, how it went in their life and the impact of it. And so, but what I want to go back to, like, the beginning, right? It starts as a fun thing, right? It's a cool thing, you get a little bit of a social, mixer, and you're good with that. And, it's happy times. You go to lunch, dinner, whatever, and some in the business world, it's pretty common. If I have a joke like I don't drink, so when we used to go to social affairs, I drink orange juice and I get hyper, and they say do not go give him orange juice because he goes nuts. That was my alcohol, which by the way, it's to say it's sugar addiction. It's got a different spin on it. It's a sugar
Right.
rush. So, but alcohol can have different aspects of it, right? Initially it may be a good buzz, it could be stuff. Besides the risk of accidents and different things that you can get into, a brawl, whatever, you can go nuts because you're not really, your mind is altered, right? That's the bottom line. And but it's got a good positive piece of it, gets you mellow. Some people are shy, this gives them the opportunity to do that. Now it's funny because I've had some critics about the shows about alcohol already, like, well, what else are you going to tell us? We're not, we're this is our life, we'd like to have. First of all, I want to disclaim this clearly. This is for whoever wants to have a solution. This is not, if you're happy whatever you are, that's on you and it's okay. But understand that's a reaction to you not being willing to move out of it, and that's the thing. That's the addiction itself. You cannot say, I got a problem. Facing the truth, the reality of things is usually the most difficult. By the way, this is not just about alcohol. Any addiction. It could be gaming, it could be TV, it could be anything else. If it is something you're not able to stop, that's an addiction. And so it doesn't matter. We're here to just provide some solutions and some resources, and people do need those. Now, to your point, 11 point something percent of the universe or the population, that is a huge number.
Huge.
And and by the way, I know that's for a fact. You said it. It's not the true statistic. Those are the ones that got surveyed, or based on education, right? I mean, how many people? I mean, you go everywhere, somebody's drinking, and what is addiction? Also, it's the level of where you are, and how bad do you really see yourself going every day. You wake up in the morning, you're actually doing alcohol. That's the worst. But you can be doing it every day, and you just can't stop. Or you can have a little, a moment without having some buzz into you. So those are some of the things that can be. And by the way, alcohol, drug, all these things have the similar, concept. But Roseanne, let's talk about your story, because your story was a successful story. You're still a success story. But I'm saying in the business world,
Mm-hmm.
it was great. Not only that, I read that you've managed some of the wealthiest
Yeah.
of the world. Now, that has to be very difficult to manage. Again, C-suite, managing some big portfolios. There's a level of pressure and stress and anxiety that comes with it, and there's a demand. And I love what you said. At that level, you're about getting things done, and sometimes getting things done can also be where you make decisions that affect other lives and other things. And sometimes the only way to do it is just like you want to like numb it out, and alcohol can give you that, a nice vibe, and you don't have to think about it, at least not for the day. And you constantly do that. So, but how was your experience, in that world before we can get into the real?
Yeah. I thought I was in the glitz and glamour world of, private jets and Grammys and,
Sweet,
and
sweet.
that was definitely a thing. But I did suffer, if you look back in retrospect, you've got to wake up in the morning and produce again. And, anybody who drinks any level of alcohol understands that it affects your sleep. And sleep affects your health and productivity. And so even though I was a successful executive, I questioned, like, what did I leave on the table? Like, what did I leave on the table? Because before I did the faith-based program, I was an executive coach for alcohol cessation. So I've dealt with a lot of high-performing people that had been caught in this. And, it all looks the same. They're like, well, wait a minute, I'm just waking up. I'm not as motivated to do my job. It's getting in my head that I can't quit. I'm feeling terrible. I don't even want to go to work. They're noticing they're not, like, substances steal everything about you. They steal your joy, it steals your health, it steals your productivity, and it steals your relationships, because you can't be super present when you're super under the influence. You're just doing silly things or saying things that you might regret, or getting angry at things that you wouldn't otherwise get angry about. So it's not, yeah, I believe the lie. I believe the lie, as do other people, and that's why I want to talk about it openly. There's so much shame around this, and I'd rather start talking about it as simple as people talk about it, like, yeah, I gotta lose 10 pounds, like it's just it's a substance, and we gotta get rid of the substance, right? That's causing the addiction. But after that, it's just a dang bad habit that we have to reprogram our minds on. And so that's how I focus. It's more of a mindset and understanding truth that we're talking about today. Like the truth, we believe it removes stress, and in fact it adds stress because we haven't dealt with the problem, and we made it worse by sleep disruption, by maybe saying or doing something that we're worried about the next morning, by lack of productivity. What's the truth about alcohol?
Yeah, or I'm listening to you. It's amazing because you're breaking down a lot of powerful things that everybody pretty much knows about, but yet we are hard to face those realities, right? It's funny because, again, you talked about some of the benefit aspect of it because it gives you that little fun part of it, right? But it's the benefits are so minute compared, to everything else, and the aftermath is, to your point, your health. Obviously, that's the first shocker, right? Your sleep, your productivity, your performance. It does affect you. I mean, companies will not keep you long if you actually have a habit of coming in, buzzed, whatever the case may be. That's one. Doesn't matter how good you are. Performance, to your point, your awareness and things is not going to be there. Your social life may be sociable in the aspect where you're having a good time, but then it affects all your true social life, which is your family, friends, and relatives, and relationships, and things like that. Besides the fact that you can also destroy your body. I mean, that's the other part. I mean, your liver can go, a lot of things can happen. You don't have time to do anything else. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to address one thing about the liver. So you might be a little bit young for this, but I lived in the age where we did the commercials for cigarettes. Like there were the billboards, there were the commercials. It was the Marlboro Man, Virginia Slims, and your doctor recommends Camel Lights, right? And I think we are at a tipping point now to where this is going to change, because it is killing people, especially since COVID. People got caught up in this unintentionally. And the National Institute of Health, let me just say NIH from now on. NIH says that in the year 2030, and that's only 7 years away, cirrhosis of the liver as a result of alcohol is expected to triple. Alcohol-related deaths is now 1 in 5 for ages 20 to 49. 1 in 5 deaths, ages 20. Because what kids are drinking, when I look at what my kids drink versus what I drank, it's 6 times, and they're binge drinking, right? They're doing it hard. And it scares me because your liver can fail on you without you ever having a sign in advance. And now it's so hard to go to the doctor, right? We're going to avoid going to the doctor because it costs a lot of money. So you're not even doing the tests on your liver that you should be doing. It's all very scary.
Well, it is. But so it's, first of all, you said I'm a little young. I'm 52, so I've been around the block. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But here's the thing, right? Society has made it, to your point, from early on as and marketing really worked on that one, right? It's marketing is, it's amazing, right? How powerful it can be, and it can drive people to do certain things, so and willingly and happily, right? But even like when you think about it, like we celebrate 21. Why? Because that's when we can drink and stuff. Now people start before that, obviously in family matters and things like that. But at the end of the day,
legally,
legally, yeah. Well, listen, I mean, family affairs, that's always happening, and some families literally, from the day one, I mean, on the table you have some alcohol, and then some people drink, as a matter of food, right, or meal kind of concept. But it gets a little, I guess, escalated in the college days, because now it's party time. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, college days are fun. I mean, that's one of the things that makes fun, is that, your happy hour every day. You finish school, weekend comes in, everybody's wasted, and
Did
it's
you even know anybody who didn't drink in college? Like, I didn't even know that was an option.
that was me,
Like,
and I was the odd
you,
guy.
you didn't drink? Yeah, I wish I had not. Like, I just did what the crowd did, and to me, everybody drank. I just didn't know anybody who didn't. So,
Well, not
maybe
well again. You're right, but it varies. I mean, culturally is also different. I was raised overseas. The culture did not, provide for that. So that was maybe one. Maybe if I was, in the culture where it's common, I would have probably just been part of the party, right? So, but I did part of it. I was in the States, and so I was around the whole fun. That's where I did the juice thing, the orange juice. That was my substitution. but but it was really the same thing. It was just like to get excited and get happy, and people tend to do a lot more fun stuff when they're just not in the full mind, because now you don't have to worry about what you're doing. You just do it and don't think about it. It's like that movie Hangover, right? Like, what the hell happened? you
right.
know, the next morning you see the pictures, like, whoa, okay, well, that's exactly what it is, right? So a lot of things can be crazy, but what I'm talking about is that the fact that we not only celebrate it, we actually are looking forward to it. It's like, that's the time. 21 is like, hey, let's go. And then it starts then. And then after college is career path, right? Now you're entry level and all the pressure is on you. So it depends on the job you do. It's like, put pressure on everybody, right? And so you wait for that Friday or that Thursday night happy hour. Happy hours is everywhere, right? So that's part of business. And then you go and get some nice, light drinks or heavy drinks, but really good deals on the drinks, and then you move on. And then it continues, right? And then you talked about, like, for example, post pandemic, right? The idea of the projections of statistics in terms of liver
Mm.
disease and all stuff. That's almost scary enough to just think about them, not even see them for real. But if they're saying them, that means it's real, and it's probably worse. Um, but if you notice something, again, during the pandemic, liquor stores didn't close.
Oh, they were
Liquor,
essential. They were
exactly,
essential.
exactly. So that shows you that between the time you're 21 and regardless of events that happen in life, this becomes a real thing. And by the way, this is, folks that were watching and listening, no matter where you stand in this topic here, uh, we're just talking about facts and things. Now, again, I want to relay this message again. You know, whether you want to face it today, next day, next year, sometimes it doesn't matter. The idea is someone can benefit from these discussions, and it's real stuff. It is not a joke. It's happening. It's hurting people. We are a health channel. We are, a health radio, and we're talking about topics that affect us, and society. But
Thank you for
these are
saying
real.
that. This is really about awareness, because I look back at my life and I go, why didn't somebody tell me all this? Nobody told me. Nobody told me this was an addictive substance, that if I practiced and practiced and practiced, I would eventually get in trouble. That this is going to affect my liver, that if I drink, I'm going to have a problem with my weight, that nobody told me all these things, and so that's all this is bringing awareness to the problems that can happen, because I call it an invisible line. There's this line that people can cross, and depending on who you are, your genes, your family history, you could cross a line in a year or two, right? But nobody tells you where that line is, like where you're going to trip over and it becomes you're controlling alcohol versus alcohol's controlling you. But once you cross it, you've crossed it. And then the battle is real, and a lot of people statistically, statistically, according to NIH, people try to quit 4.5 years before they actually do it. I'm thinking it's longer. I think for me, it was 10 years of battling. And, I'm out talking about it, not to condemn people that drink, because not all people have a problem. And I don't want to villainize alcohol, because some people just do have one drink, or some people drink that don't want to drink just to fit in. But understand what you're dealing with. It's an addictive substance that can, really wreak some havoc. And there aren't a lot of health benefits to, even though they were touted at one time. I'm sure the research, I haven't looked, but I'm sure the research was funded by alcohol companies.
It's amazing. You talked about shame. But also, you talked about that blurry line, right? I mean, the line where you cross over, and then which one is controlling which, right? Who's controlling who? That line is very blurry. I mean, because for that person, that line never happened. You don't know that you transit.
You
and to
don't.
you, and to your
Scary.
point, you were like, no, you're not accepting it. And you started by commenting on my disclaimer about this is an awareness piece. But you're right. At the end of the day, people don't want to tell you, because if they told you, you would not respond to them well anyways, or you're like, oh, who the hell you think you are? You're not my parent, you're not this, you're not, I thought you were my friend, and you're going to hear all kind of stuff. And because that's your that's your automatic defense mechanics. Yeah, you're going to respond to people where they want to do the right thing by you, and that's it. And people, sometimes they just mind their own business. You know what? Plus, sometimes they don't even know. Now, if they notice, they're around you long enough to notice that you have an issue. And like one of the shows I had, my guest, I mean, he was told by a friend of his, a colleague, that it's time for you to do this, and then that was his wake up call. And that was awesome that someone stepped up to the game and say, dude, you need to do this. But you're right. Sometimes people are not going to come to you and say it. I mean, there's only a few people that really care in our lives about us. And those are the ones maybe that will come to you. And
But
sometimes they may not.
You're talking about so here's why I'm trying to change the conversation. I hate the word, and I'm sorry, because now I'm going to apologize, because I know a lot of people like the word alcoholic who identify, who have been successful, and that does something for them. People that go through that AA program, they wear that as a badge of honor, and I am proud of them for beating that. So that's good. But I am trying to address a different population of people who, like me, I don't want to call myself a name. I had really low self-esteem at that point. I didn't identify with that labeling. It's just not who I was, right? I used to smoke cigarettes super heavily, 2 to 3 packs a day. I quit maybe 16, 17 years ago. I forgot. But I wasn't a cigaretteaholic. I wasn't a smokeaholic. It was killing me, and I needed to quit. So I didn't recover from it. I quit. I quit because it was killing me. And I have kind of the same narrative for this. It was killing me. It was killing all aspects of my life. And I quit. And so the narrative in the bars, I'm not trying to shame people. I'm trying to give people different narratives. So when I show, and this may happen to you, when I show up at a bar and I go, you're not drinking? No, I'm waking up early in the morning. I got to get to the gym. Wow, I wish I could go to a bar and do that. Do you ever get that? Like, I wish I could not drink at a bar. And by the way, if you go to my website, www.theplansehasforme.com, and press the red button, you will get 20 different flashcards with 20 different responses of how you can just say, I don't want to drink, because that's really hard for people in social situations. They don't know what to say. And I certainly don't want you going, well, I have an alcohol problem, so I had to give it up. But if you
I have a 13 card for you.
Yeah. No, but if you say, gosh, it was really affecting my sleep, so I put it aside for a while, and boy, do I feel better. Is anybody going to argue with that it affects your sleep? My son drinks, my oldest son, and he has one of those fancy schmancy watches that kind of gives his sleep quality. And he's like, Mom, even if I have like 1 or 2 drinks, my sleep quality is really showing up bad on my watch. And I'm like, that's super cool to be reflective of that. And if you say that in a crowd of people, like, oh, it was really affecting my sleep and I'm tired of it, they're going to go, well, good for you. Like, they understand. It's affecting their sleep too, I promise. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, you said it perfectly. People deal with things differently, right? And yeah, sometimes they go to recovery programs, and that's okay. There's a label. I'm, Alcoholic Anonymous or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. The fact is that they get in,
Getting help.
They're getting help. That's it. And that's, someone that's facing, the music and taking, the necessary steps. That's to me a success, right? A success, rate by all means. So that's one. And you're right. Some people also, to your point, may not want to have that label, and there's a way for that as well. Your way does that. So the point is, it doesn't matter which form or format you use.
Right.
It's as long as the results are where you're healthier, you're better, and you're not in that same position you were in the predicament you started with. And so that's all there is. So the beauty about this discussion is that it's for everyone. And by the way, even if it's not you, somebody might have this problem. Somebody that knows someone.
With a 1 in 10, and I'm down, right? With a 1 in 10, you only need to know 20 people, and 2 people are having at least some amount of problem with it.
Well, you're right. And by the way, the word shame, right? I love what you said. You've had the problem, with whatever it is. I mean, maybe it's not a problem. It's just a fact of life.
It's definitely a problem. Definitely a problem.
Well, it is, but some people may not want to face. Again, that's the thing. Like being realistic about things and really factual sometimes is difficult for people to admit, right? I have a problem. I have an issue, right? But the fact is, if you are feeling off, doesn't matter. And if you're thinking that it's really something now, why can I stop? Why am I always stuck with this? Don't feel the shame of talking or asking for help. I mean, I do have a monthly stand-in show with a psychiatry, expert, from the world, best. And one of the things is that he always relates to is get help. If you're not sure, get help. People have the problem of seeking help because of the shame, like what people are going to think about me. It's always about what others are going to label. The other people are not in your body. They're not feeling your pain. It doesn't matter if you'll be dying from someone. They can see the physical aspect of it, but they don't feel the pain of it. So it doesn't matter. It's you that is actually in that difficult times. And seeking help is only going to benefit you. And that's actually the message for everything.
And that's why we're talking about this, right? Because we want people to know they're not alone. I think there's a lot of loneliness in the conversations that we have with ourselves about trying to quit and why. And so let's take the definition of shame. I want to take my pastor's definition because it was so good. He's like, there's guilt versus shame, and guilt is, oh, I've done something wrong. And a faith-based thing, it's just going to be, I repent, I turn around, I change that behavior. Shame is where that you say there's something wrong with me. And this is where we don't want this to happen. There's nothing wrong with you. You've been lied to. The substance is addictive. You've formed a neurological habit from practicing. It's like you practice riding a bike, you get to ride a bike good. You practice drinking every time you're stressed, you get to, revert to that. It's just kind of a natural thing. And so the coaching that I do is just dealing with the fact that the brain has neuroplasticity. So you can train yourself to have a different habit. When I'm stressed, I'm going to do something else. When I'm stressed, I'm going to breathe. When I'm stressed, I'm going to call a friend. When I'm stressed, I'm going to take a walk. When I'm stressed, I'm going to do the housework. I'm just going to redirect instead of when I'm stressed, I got to grab a drink, training yourself.
I really love what you said. I mean, that was probably the easiest way to demonstrate, this whole thing. I mean, I've heard many, ways of looking at it, but your angle is just unique because you're right. It is just a habit, that's what we call habit, right? It is something that you do over and over, and your body is already attached to it, and so that's all there is. And having a shame about yourself does not solve the problem. It's not really what it is. It's a matter of just determining that's happening, and now you have to do something about it and taking it to the next level. And I love the way you just simplified it. I think if someone's watching right now, like, huh, that is true. I mean, it's like, my body's used to this. Now we just got to unused to it and get
Any
unused to it.
habit, checking our cell phone is a habit. How easy it is. And I think people ought to have more compassion for somebody that gets trapped in an alcohol habit, what I'll call it, because you should understand how hard it is to stop checking your cell phone. It's the same thing, how hard it is to stop, grabbing a drink when you're stressed, or grabbing a drink because you want to have fun. It's just changing the habit. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. It's a little hard at first, which is why doing it with a group is always good, not knowing that you're not by yourself. But there are a few guarantees in life that you can make. And I can guarantee that life is so much better after 12. Like I challenge people to do it 12 weeks. If you put alcohol to the side for 12 weeks, I guarantee you're going to gain self-confidence. You're going to gain your health. You're going to gain productivity. And there's not too many things, like I said, we can guarantee in life, but that is one.
But I love that. I mean, well, before we get to that one, you mentioned something about, like when you go with friends and they drink, right? And, you have to tell them, like, I'm not drinking because it's not doing right by me for whatever reason, your health, your sleep, or whatever. That's actually important to actually highlight with our people, because the minute you decide for yourself doesn't mean you have to quit your friend. Now, ultimately, if they're going to lead you on a bad path, or like keep you in front of whatever bad habit, you might want to reduce that that connection, or at least that interaction, right? To a lower level, to a limited amount of time. But if you're able to have that strength to just say no, I was joking earlier about the 13th card, because what I do is I just get a non-alcoholic beer.
Oh yeah.
And so now we're drinking the same. It just, I don't have the buzz. I say, the flavor without the buzz. That's what I get.
Yeah.
So it's legit. It's really just like drinking water, but it's got the same flavor. It looks like good. In front of people, they don't know the label. They don't see the zero. I hide it, and that's it. So that's the joke. But really, it works. I mean, it's whatever works for you. And you said it. You had gone through the smoking and the drinking, and both of them are bad for your health. And guess what? You were able to say, no, this is not good for me. Is it going to be easy? Was it easy? No, you took your time and you had to do the stuff. Now, you somehow went also for me a religious aspect of things. You see, so I want to just touch on that, because religiously, I think in all core religions, drinking is not really a big deal. I mean, it's a smaller option in the scheme of things. Depends on what religion you talk about. I mean, alcohol is not really a big part of the religious aspect of things, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah. Well, in Christianity, I didn't even understand this, or I ignored it. Probably the latter. And drunkenness is a sin. I'm like, yeah, nah, drunkenness is fine.
But that's the thing. It is, right?
Yeah. But I did, it was funny. I was a leader in the church and I got caught in this. I crossed that line, right? And the shame set in. And when COVID hit, that was kind of the catalyst of like, oh my gosh, I've got to quit or else I'm going to die. And I went into a secular program, and I started hearing all of these practices that were embedded in the Bible that I had written. I'm like, wait a minute, they're practicing God's word. There's just no God in here. So I ended up transforming so much, like lower blood pressure, lower weight, lower resting heart rate, more peace, more joy, more confidence. I was just like, this is secret sauce. I want to work for you. And I did end up working for them as an enrollment and a client journey coach, and and that's where I started talking to lots of high performing and faith-based people who were experiencing so much shame. And so I started writing scripture and prayers that went along with the teachings, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Because, and this is what I have found as a faith-based coach, even if there is no God in your life, you get to this point, it drives you down to this point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to find God. And this is what I'm finding with this approach, because there needs to be a bigger, the name of the devotional is The Plans He Has for Me. And there needs to be a bigger purpose-driven thing. And when you take it away and you start going, I've been lied to, and you look at your gifts and what you've left on the table, and you start doing what you love to do, what you were created to do, you're like, oh, this is what life's about. This is why I was created. And it's just a wonderful transformation to watch in people. Wonderful.
Well, again, it's amazing, and we're talking into now the religious aspect of things, and it's amazing that when you get to the precipice of things, and like where you're like at the end, the bottom, there's a very typical outcome where that's when people start like reverting to God and whatever denomination, and that's when they're like, oh, please help me, right?
Right.
And so it's amazing how that works. Yet it's always been there. The concept is not until you have to find that last moment of where you can't go anywhere. You can just be there any minute. But yet that's the thing. And sometimes if you think about it, it's maybe the way it is to get you back, because sometimes you have to go through the tough, and that's your maybe not exercise, but that's your way of like finding back your path, right? And it does not deviate. It's almost the same. When we get to trials and tribulations, that's when we revert back to like, oh God, please help me, right? It's when we get to the moment where like, oh my God.
Yeah, there is no God until you want
that things to happen, right? Exactly. But and see, it amazes me. That's usually where humanity comes together at one point or another to the same conclusion, regardless of your belief, regardless of whether you believe or not. There's a point where you like realize like, oh, and you ask for the help, and then the help happens. The help is always there. And if we talk scripture, right? I mean, in any religion that is scripture based, you or more theistic or Abrahamic, if you want to call them that way, you're gonna have the concept of evil. And alcohol is just it's party time, right? When you party, it's not really you're the opposite of where you need to be in the religious aspect of spectrum,
Absolutely,
right? So it's really just like the wave. You gotta get busy with life and do the stuff, so you do the least of I guess the religious aspect of life, and therefore you're distracted. And so when you look at that parameter, like just thinking about it, is like that's like the tool the devil would use, to distract humans and get them busy and
Amen.
just
That's 100%.
and do your bad things, because here's the thing, your health is destroyed. That's not good for you, because this is your body. You're supposed to protect it. You're supposed to take good care of it. Your behavior with your family can be bad. Divorce, relationships, bad things happen. Kids, whatever.
Cheating.
Exactly. All that stuff can happen. So when you think about it, it's all the distraction fun. So yes, is there again a medical aspect of alcohol that can have the benefit? Probably there is, but it's really minute. But the destruction that it can cause to society, to finances, people lose their shirt just spending money on this stuff.
The money I could have today, that I threw away in alcohol, and the money that I saved now, I could go out to fine dining, and when the alcohol isn't there, man, it's just I spend about a third of what I used to spend at a nice restaurant. And I live in Scottsdale, and it's hard to get a glass of wine here without spending $15, and it would never be one glass for me. So you start comparing that. I think I'd do a gin and tonic before the meal. I'd have the meal, and then a couple of
It adds
glasses of
up.
wine during the meal, right? And it really adds up to a lot of money.
Now, it's funny. You ask people to donate money, they'll probably be difficult about it. You ask money to go to the gym, it's like, I don't have money to go to the gym. And $15 is a glass of wine. So the gym, I don't know. I mean, some of these gyms are like 15, $20, you can get in. So, and you don't even have to do that. I mean, you can just run out, in the park and still have a good time.
Oh, let's just talk about one lie, because I don't really have a lot of, I'm a very empathetic person, but not when it comes to this. When people need to pay for coaching to, put alcohol to the side, they go, oh my gosh, I could never afford that. I go, how are you affording the alcohol? If you're not willing to redirect a fraction of what you're spending on alcohol to the cessation of alcohol, you're not ready to quit. It's just about what we think is important. And I go, you can tell me a lot of reasons why you don't want to come into coaching, but you can't afford it is not one of them. I don't have any. Yeah, that's.
Oh, it's amazing, right? It's everywhere. Well, same thing with fitness, right? I mean, people will spend less money on the fitness, but yet they'll buy any junk food anytime, anywhere, and it costs a lot more, I mean, think about it this way. If you're drinking just coffee, I'm just gonna go basic. Coffee now at Starbucks, maybe $4. Right?
$5, yeah.
Yeah, it's $4 or $5. I don't know. That's a small one. Now you want something decent size, you're about $8 already. And so, and all the calories and all the stuff that you're gonna have there is probably not good for you. But again, we're not judging here. This is a different topic today. It's not the fitness, but it ties out, right? So you heard
awareness.
But here's the thing. So now 30 days later, you're spending a good amount of money. So average, let's say $10. That's a lot of money a month. How many gyms are you going to pay for $300? For a fraction, you can be at the gym. You can still maybe drink some of that and just, at least compensate in a way. So it's about priorities. It's about what do we value?
Priorities and awareness. I think people gravitate because maybe they are living paycheck to paycheck or something. So they gravitate to, I can't afford it, without being aware of what their priorities are. Like, wait, maybe I could give up Starbucks for the gym. Wait, maybe I could give up alcohol for a professional that could help me through it. It's just taking an assessment of being real with yourself. I think it's about being real with yourself about, what does this cost me? What are my options to get rid of it? When I used to enroll people in in the coaching program that I went to, it was fairly expensive, but I'd always ask, if somebody said I can't afford it, I go, well, you know what? AA is free. You can go to AA. No way. Not AA. Like,
why not?
Why not?
It's still helping. Yes.
You're asking for help and you don't want to pay for it. AA is free and it's good. It's effective. And so it's this, after having done this for years, we are, and you probably know this with the health aspect too, we are just full of lies to ourselves. We are so good at deceiving ourselves.
Well, it's escaping, right? Again, we are not good at facing realities, head on, right? That's just how we are. We have the ostrich effect, right? And we'd rather put our head down in the sand and just expect everything else is going to be peachy, knowing that it's not, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's funny because I had this discussion with a friend of mine about smoking, right? And similar concept. If you smoke a pack of cigarettes, like $15, I don't know, maybe like $20, some of these things.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I'm glad I don't smoke anymore.
$600 a month, that's a car payment, right? That's
some nice vacation every
year. There
you
go. Or forget it, if you add it up in a year. I mean, I'm not just talking about a month, but whatever it is, I mean, that's your budget for food. I don't know. I mean, it could be many things. It could be a tuition, it could be a lot of things, but yet it is costly. And so now you add to it alcohol, another probably 600 or more. And so now you're like, it's a budget on its own. And, just talking purely financial,
let's just stop for a minute, because it's not only the money you save on the alcohol or, the junk food or whatever, throw the category in. It's the opportunity cost of what you can be. So what's possible with your health and your healthcare savings if you're healthy and you're not drinking? What's possible at your job if you're more productive, right? It's this real cost and this bigger opportunity cost of what's possible when you put it aside. And that's why I like a hope-based way to approach this as opposed to a victim-based way to approach. Poor you, you're addicted, poor you. No, let's just do the challenge. Let's go, you've been lied to. Let's put it to the side and really search for what's possible, because I wouldn't give up my life today to go back to where I was for anything. There's nothing that would it's just that big of a transformation.
Listening to you and really adding that value of like your true worth, beyond the cost, your health. First of all, if you damage your health, that's thousands of dollars of cost, and that's if the damage
tens of thousands of dollars.
You could, you could
Plus
lose
your life.
and you're like, well, even if it's referred, if you could reverse it eventually, it's still going to take time which you can never gain back, and money that you might not have, and that would be, and plus, even if you would have, let's say, good insurance, whatever, the toll it has on the other, on the economy as a whole, and healthcare can be affected. So there's a domino effect. There's almost a ripple effect across the board here that impacts, and then the impact on your family and what you could have possibly invested, with them, your relationships, your kids, many things. And so the dollar sign itself, it is just adding up, in a bad way as you're in there, and then it could be so much better on the other side if you flip, the actual sideways and really got into a program that can help. And you're right, if you added program to where I am, probably a fraction of the cost, and now you're saving money and you're healthier, you're happier. By the way, when you're healthier, your health is wealth. We hear this expression all the time. Nobody's going to give you health. Health is something that you have to maintain. And if you lose your health, the monies in the world cannot buy it. They can try to fix it, and sometimes they don't. You can't fix, what's too late. Many people would love to give their money everything. They're billionaires, and they cannot get, something that they lost in their body, right? It's over.
Even Jobs, right? He had all the money in the world, but
yes, he had actually one of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
His one of his last speeches, or at least, he had clearly stated that. The monies in the world cannot, he wished, that it would be different. And that's the thing, that, while you still have it, take care of it, understand that this is you, this is where you live in, all right? This is your body. And yes, listen, psychologically speaking, it is a difficult toll on anyone, because slowly but gradually you get into this habit, and getting out of the habit is going to be very difficult, just like everything else, right? You get used to something. Again, relationship, right? You're in a relationship, it's hard to let go. Well, same thing here. It's a relationship, but now it's beyond that. It's actually, to your point, you said it earlier, neurologically speaking, you are connected with this substance. And that's another issue, right? And so to detach from it, that's not going to be easy, and you need the help and the guidance.
Well, every day it gets easier. I don't want to make it sound like, because I quit smoking, and I remember I was coached through the drinking thing, and I think there was a point, and I'm like, well, I know I quit smoking and it got easier as time went on. Is that the case with the drinking? They're like, oh, absolutely. And just like I said, having hope that every day it gets easier, all of a sudden, oh, wait, I didn't think about it all day today. Like, yay. I didn't think about it for a week. Yay. It's just when it's constantly in your mind, oh my gosh, when does 5 o'clock come? Or I can't drink till Friday. Or you're just always doing what I call the mental gymnastics with the habit. That's no fun. It just takes up too much space in your head. Way too much space.
So, yeah. Roseanne, you're talking about willpower and mindset here, because
willpower stinks. Yeah, willpower. Yeah. You only have so much of it. It's like a strength thing, right? It's like you hold on, and you can only hold on for so long. But when it's mindset, and you're just redirecting your thoughts, redirect. You You're just training for something different. And that's why, like, my devotional is 12 weeks, because a lot of people are strong fisting it during dry January or Lent or sober October. All they're doing is going like this until the 31st day or the 32nd day or the 41st day. So that's not really solving for the habit, because all their mindset is, I just need to make it for this short amount of time. But if your mindset is, I want to change my relationship with alcohol, I want to know the truth, I want to see what's possible, I want to, one that takes a little longer to see that effect, because you're changing a habit. And you just get to experience something really cool. And you go, oh, this is what's possible. This is what's possible. And that's how I get the percentage of people being successful when it's that shorter time frame, but short enough to make a difference, is huge, versus I'm going to try this. Oh, forget it. All right, you have to do this forever. I don't like to tell people that. It's too much for the mind to handle.
It scares them, right? It's like, oh, that's that. I'm not prepared for that. But if you take it one day at a time, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
But so your program is 12 weeks, and you pretty much guaranteed that in 12 weeks you'll see results. So what? I mean, let's guide us through that 12 weeks program. And because if someone comes to you today, I mean, and they're going to pay for it and they need to see results. How can you ease them into the program, and what stages do they go through, and maybe are there any types of folks that may even revert back after the 12 weeks, which I don't think that's the case.
Well, no, actually, unfortunately, it's a lot of the case, because people get super confident, like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better, I can control this now. Like,
yeah, that's a tough one.
For many, it's not. For many, it's like me, like, woo, like, this is good. It's just, and that's why I give people a choice, but I really want them to document. So let's go through it. You start with what we talked about in awareness. What is this costing me in terms of relationship, finances, opportunity, productivity, health, mental health? What's this costing me? Now, flip that on its head. What's possible if I had better health, better relationships, better productivity, and more money? What's possible? Start dreaming, even though that's a hard thing for people. They just don't see it. But I'm on the other side to tell them something's possible if you have your health back. Something's possible if you have more money, right? It's just, you have to push through and know that. The first part is just stay the course, be refined. That part, about 2 weeks, your body gets back into homeostasis, getting new routines and habits, leaning into the discomfort because it's creating change. And then, after the first 30 days or so, I call it the pink cloud effect, because people are so excited, like, yippee, I'm doing this. And then, kind of starting in the 5th week, they're going, well, this is kind of boring. When does this end? And so in that part, I go, look at all the extra time you have. You were drinking, you were recovering from drinking, you were thinking about how to quit drinking. How can we replace that with something else? And so I really encourage people to start using their gifts. What have you always wanted to do? What have you left on the table? Or I always wanted to go back to college. I always wanted to do flower arrangements. I always wanted to learn carpentry. It doesn't matter. I always want to sing. I really encourage people to just get back into what they believe they always wanted to do, because hidden in that is your God-given talent. And that will produce true joy, not the joy that you were trying to find in the bottle. And so when people are experiencing that, then they're documenting, like, wow, I really feel good. There's also processing forgiveness. A lot of people drink because some people have done some pretty horrible things to them in the past, and they're trying to self-medicate their pain. And so processing forgiveness of others, and that's just, to me, giving it to God to collect the debt for them and moving forward, because you can't look ahead until you leave the past behind. And this is such a gift to give that to God to collect the debt on. Then there's forgiveness of self for what you may have done, what you may have participated in, for what while you were. And that's important too. And knowing that we've wiped the slate clean, that's the process of forgiving. If God's wiped the slate clean, you need to too, because that's the only way you can look forward. And then the end is just documenting all the wins and being real about it and feeling like this light that you can give to others through the power of the Holy Spirit. It's just a little process that you go through. And yeah.
So it takes a lot of commitment. And this is you have to really commit to yourself.
I call it self-care.
Okay.
Yeah, I call it self-care. This is where you get to focus on you and what's best for you to see what's possible. And yeah, I mean, words are important, right? And it is a commitment, but it's a commitment to self-care, to looking to your health, to looking to your peace and joy and fitness and whatever's possible in this time. I'm committing to me, because a lot of us just are too busy with what's going on in the world, and we need to stop. But we have the time to stop. Like I said, we were drinking, recovering from drinking, and thinking about how to quit. You have time. You do. I promise.
Well, it's amazing, right? Self-care. I mean, as humans, we always look up for number one. It's us, right? In a way, we're selfish by default. It's all about us. In a way, one way or the other, drinking sometimes is about us, or doing whatever habits, right? Here's the opposite, but it's about you being healthier, better, doing, thriving, and living a better life, maybe.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. It's the me. It's all about me, but I think it's a redirection of, I think in my mind, the me thing is like, how do I make me happy right now? I want happiness right now, versus what is my future self and how do I take the time to care for what I can be? So I think that's the difference between self-care versus immediate care. Does that make sense?
It does. And the reason I'm talking about this is because in reality, you don't find your true self unless you're doing something in this world or leaving a legacy. And to do that, you cannot do it without helping yourself. You have to, ideally, we should be all positive elements of society, right? And contribute in a positive way. But you can't do it, and again, someone say, well, I am contributing, I'm buying, the economy is good. I'm actually, consuming, right? Well, you are, and that's one way to look at it. But you can, to your point, the value of what you have, the opportunity of what you can give is much higher than just spending a couple of dollars on a product, right? And maybe serving that purpose, because you can do a lot more. I mean, the money you save, if you reinvested it, you'll have millions. You can do a lot more good, if you think about it, right? And a way to look at it, right?
Look, almost every charity in the world was created by somebody suffering greatly, and then making a use out of that suffering, and it's purpose driven, which is what you're talking about. And there is nothing better than a purpose driven life. Nothing. As a matter of fact, that was one of the best selling books of all time, The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Because it creates so much joy to give back. And I don't think I worked for one of the richest people in the world. And I can promise you that more money does not create happiness. It just doesn't. Purpose creates happiness. And that's why a lot of very wealthy people make sure they give back too, because it's that purpose part that's making the difference for them, not the making money part.
That's pretty powerful, and I think that is an awesome message for audiences. I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna do good for yourself, and you're gonna do good for society, and there's nothing wrong with that picture. I mean, it's a win-win for all, right? Now, I have a question. If someone wants to join your program, but they're not religious, you know, what's your take on that?
I have a lot of people that have joined the program that I think you have to be open to it. I have a podcast, it's called Say Goodbye and Imagine. And I do have one episode with Russell Belcher, and he's like, yeah, what should I do? I'm not like really a godly person, but I'm going to give this a try. And he gave it a try, and he became connected to God. And I think that happens for a lot of people. Even if they are faith-based, they develop a deeper faith. Or like we talked about before, if you are ready to meet God, this is the program that will help you get there, because it's just a gentle and loving, not shame-based approach. It's a hope-based approach. What's possible? What's possible?
All right. So now we've exceeded the hour because it was just
we're just having fun.
I know, it was quick, right? It's like, what happened? So now people can actually check in your work and connect with you and the program through the planshehasporme.com. Is that the actual website?
Yeah, and you can get the splash cards by clicking the red button. You can buy the book there. The book gives you access to a private Facebook group too, and that's where you can have direct access with me, to encourage you through there, ask questions. So that's definitely how to keep in touch with everything I do.
You mentioned podcasts. So what is your podcast so people can
It's called Say Goodbye and Imagine, because I just think there's so much possible when we put it aside. Again, I am really trying to get rid of all that victim approach stuff. Poor you. It's not poor you. It's like, what's possible? Dang, a lot.
Listen, people watching and listening, I mean, they cannot criticize, because at the end of the day, you have been in their shoes, you have done it. Maybe me personally, I'm as being the host here, and I have not experienced it. People say, well, what do you know about this? But you are literally someone who has been through every single piece of this and understand exactly how it is and how it takes your life away. And certainly you were able to turn things around, and definitely you have been now helping people and transforming their lives into a better life and giving them the hope, as you said. So awesome to hear it always from someone who has the expertise and the knowledge, because people typically are big critics, and they say, like, what do you know about this? That's the first thing. They're like, you have no idea what I'm going through. They can't do that with you.
No, I'm very compassionate with people about that. I get it. I get the multiple attempts. I get where it ends. Yeah. And I just tell them it's possible to see something different. I know. Yeah.
There you go. So before we close our show today, what are some of the last words of wisdom you'd like to leave our audiences with?
Start being honest with yourself about what it's costing you, and start doing that analysis. Even if you can't imagine something different, I do want to share this. I was to a place where I wanted to die. I wasn't going to take action because of my faith, but this is pretty typical when somebody's got a substance abuse. They want to leave. And I thought I had no other purpose. And you can't see a future. So being honest with what it's cost you, and knowing for certain that there is something better on the other side, because here I am, I wrote a book. Did I think that was possible when I was drinking? No. So just know, and think big, challenge yourself, even if it doesn't feel comfortable. It's real. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, those are like real powerful words that we can take to the bank. And Roseanne, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. Your work is awesome, and just keep it up. Keep helping people. And we will have folks, link up to you through our website, through our radio, and all the stuff, so people can also listen to your podcast as well, and potentially get the book. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It was a lovely conversation, actually. I really appreciated it.
We had fun, right?
We did.
All right, all right. Well, there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this show today. There's a lot of information here that is powerful. Alcohol, not alcohol, any type of substance abuse or addiction, this can apply to. And this is a resource. Please do check it out. And you never know if it's not for you, maybe for someone that you think should benefit from it. Share the information, share the wealth. And that being said, I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. Bye for now.